Hello. We're going to continue on working with our previous program where we created a basic C project using Autotools. And now we're going to integrate GTK3 with that project so that we can make a basic GTK program. As a review, we'll just quickly look at what we've done here. We have a project called First GTK, so I've created a directory called that. Inside there we have Autotools kind of set up here. Primarily we've created a source file called main, and we've created a configure AC which contains a basic setup here, not much more than what is given to us by default from Autotools with the auto scan utility. We've integrated automake with it using the statement here, and we've created an automake file, this here, and in this you can see we've defined our executable. It's a binary, and we have defined source/main.c as the main source file for it. With this information, or with this configuration, we can then run auto reconf in the root of our project and let it do its thing there. We've talked about in the previous episode what this benign warning is. And then we go into our build directory, and from there we can run configure on the parent directory, and then with the success of that we can then run make. And if we clean first and then run make, we can see it build, and then we run our executable, which does nothing more than print hello world. So now we want to integrate GTK with this. Well, first what we're going to do is we're going to pull up that file main.c, and we're going to replace the text of that with the hello world from the GTK. So let's go ahead and bring that up there, which is right down here, GTK3 reference manual, and I believe we have a real basic, here we go, right here. So this is, I suppose, the canonical hello world for GTK. So we're going to just take this, and this really isn't a tutorial in GTK, so I'm not going to talk too much about this. But we're going to take that code and we're going to paste it in here. Okay, there we go. So this right here, assuming that we have our project configured correctly, should compile. But just for the heck of it, we're going to go ahead and run our make on it, and we're going to get an error. So the first thing we get is that GTK is not found. That makes sense, of course, because we haven't defined what the include directories are. If we look at the line here of the compile, we see that the -i's include nothing more than the current directory and the parent directory. We don't see anything about the GTK stuff. Well, most libraries on Linux use something called package config. And just to get an idea on this particular system, for instance, if we list all of the packages or the libraries that use package config, we see it's right there. We'll sort it. We'll go ahead and count how many lines we've got there, and it gives you an idea. There's some 1,000 lines of programs in this system that use package config. Well, how is this useful? Well, let's take a look. If we type package config and we type something like cflags for GTK plus -3.0, we see all of this. These are all of the directories, these -i's here. These are all of the include directories that we need to cleanly compile a GTK application. Of course, it's impossible for somebody to remember this, so package config helps us with this problem. And this pthread here is required on certain systems. So the other thing is not just the include files, but we also have this thing where we have to make the linker happy, right? So for that, we have the libs GTK plus dash 3.0, and here are the linker switches that we have to have in our project to, once the project has compiled, for the symbols to actually be found in the various shared libraries. On this particular system, these are the switches that we have to add to the command line. So how do we integrate this with Autotools in some easy way? You'll see on the internet things like this. You'll say GCC, and well, even without the C, we'll just have output, our first GTK application, and then we'll have this backtick, and we'll do package config C flags GTK plus dash 3.0 dash 3.0, and then added on top of that, we'll do package config dash dash libs GTK plus dash 3.0, and then the actual file that we're compiling, something along those lines. Now, that's fine, but it'd be nice if that's kind of handled a little bit more automagically for us, if you will. And Autotools can help with that. If we go to our config for configure.ac, there's this little area that was inserted by Autoscan for us called checks for libraries. Well, there are several macros that will assist with this, but there is one specific to package config that we can use, and it's called package check modules. Now, the arguments to this are the arbitrary label we're going to give to the variables assigned to the C flags and libs that I just showed you, and I'm just going to use GTK3 in all caps. Then the actual name of the library as understood by package config, which was GTK plus dash 3.0, followed by what we're going to do with if we have success, and we're not going to worry about it, we're just going to let it do its default behavior. And then if it fails, we're going to type an error message. So config message error, and we're going to say failed to find GTK3. Now, even if we don't do this, I believe an error will be printed if this fails. So once this is done, what this does for us is it creates two variables which are very handy. One of them will be called GTK3 underscore C flags, and the other one we'll call GTK3 underscore libs. And both of those correspond to what I had with package config C flags GTK plus dash 3.0. All of that. So all of that information will be contained in this variable called GTK3 C flags. The GTK3 because that was the prefix I used. Had I used something like just simple GTK like this, then this would have been GTK underscore C flags like this. See? So it's an arbitrary prefix that we use. I just kind of like the look of the all caps. So that's why I do the GTK3. And likewise for dash dash libs for the other variable. Okay, so once we have those variables kind of predefined, how do we use them? Well, we don't need them in this auto config or the configure.ac. What we really need it in is at build time, which is what the make file is used for. But let's go ahead and just verify that that's working. So we're going to do, as I said, our auto reconf, because we changed the configure.ac. Make sure we don't get any errors here. Now, if GTK3 wasn't found, we would see something in this text here somewhere indicating that fact. But we don't see any problems there or any error messages, I suppose, in the configure.ac syntax. The actual searching happens at configure time. So if we go into our build directory, and I do a configure, now it actually does the search. And you'll see there's this line here. It says checking dependent, checking for GTK3, yes. So if it had not found GTK3 as I defined it, and I defined it as GTK plus dash 3.0, then we would get an error message right there. That could be something as simple as requiring an apt get install GTK3 devel, or on a Debian type system, or this is Manjaro, which is an Arch system, might be pacman -s GTK3, whatever it is on your system that's required. On Windows, if you use the latest MSys2, they also use pacman for the dependency system, which is real convenient. So anyway, in our case, we have the library was found, so we're good to go. Now, that's found, but still, if I type make, we're going to get this error, right? We still can't find GTK. So how do we integrate? Well, we integrate it by now using that variable in the makefile. Makefile.am. And here in AutoMake, we can do something like this. We can take an executable, and the executable is what we defined here, right? We could have had more than one. We could have had, I don't know, there could have been, a different, multiple executables. But for each one of those, you can have this name of the executable underscore sources, underscore C flags, underscore libs, underscore LD flags, etc. For our purposes, for the includes, those are actually considered preprocessor flags, because include header files are pasted in the compilation units at preprocessor time. You could, there is a C flags as well, but that's really more for things like compiler optimization switches. What we're talking about are really the include files, so that would be a preprocessor flag. And the syntax is the at sign followed by GTK3, which is the prefix we use, followed by C flags. And C flags is used because that's what package config calls it. Okay? So this will include the if we type package config, C flags, GTK plus -3.0, all that exact text here is what gets pasted in the variable GTK3 flags, and those get appended to the preprocessor at build time. Let's see what that looks like. Let's save that, and if I type make now, I'll see that we got through the compilation phase. See, I have no errors now for compilation. At link time, I have another set of errors. Okay, but our compilation succeeded, and we see all these -I, see all the include directories there? Those are the same ones that we got from up here. So it was pretty simple. All we had to do was edit our configure AC with this line here, and that created this GTK3 C flags, and then update our makefile AM with that flag. Okay, so but we're still failing at link time, right? So what do we do with that? Well, we use the other variable that's defined for us, and we append that to LD flags, GTK3 underscore libs. So that corresponds to package config libs GTK plus -3.0, all those shared libraries that have to be linked with at link time. Now, there are multiple linker type options here in AutoMake. There's an LD add, a libs, I think. But when you're talking about actual -little l flags or -big L flags, which would be the directory, LD flags appears to be the most appropriate to append it to. Anyway, so with that, we'll go ahead and save this out. And now, if we type make, it should have resolved our link errors. No more link errors. You can see it skipped the compilation part because it had already succeeded with that, and now all it needed to do was the link part, which is what we see here. Now, the thing is that in the application that we've created, it does nothing more than create a window here, but this wouldn't have succeeded without proper linking and the proper C flags for compilation. So we have a real GTK app right there. If we look at the source that was given to us, we'll go right in here. There it is. We can see all we're doing is we're creating an application with a window whose title is set as the word window. And again, that's exactly what we get, a GTK window with the word window. Well, I hope that was helpful to get you started on integration. It's a very simple process to add a set of libraries to an Autotools project. You simply update the configure AC with a package check module statement. It could be GTK3, it could be GTK2. For instance, this could have been GTK2. As long as that is installed on your system, that will succeed. Create the variables in which you then update your automake file with those flags, and CPP flags or LD flags. I hope this has been helpful. Our next screencast is going to be about how we actually integrate all this with the Qt Creator as an IDE rather than just doing things from a console screen. Thank you.